You've probably heard about 1,000 different versions of the story by now, and you've probably raised a few eyebrows skeptically, and you've questioned whether or not any of them are true. I won't bother trying to convince you otherwise. Nobody's convinced until they play the game. I certainly wasn't growing up. See, my parents managed a hotel where throughout the years we heard hundreds, if not thousands, of kids using the elevators to play the supposedly haunted ritual. In case you don't know, according to the legend, if they pressed a certain number sequence in the elevator and also made sure no one interrupted them, there was a chance they could have an otherworldly encounter. All it wound up being for my father was an electrical headache. Since the hotel was old, a lot of times the elevator was shut down due to the kids mashing the buttons and constantly tromping in and out. There was even one time a group of them got stuck and he had to call the fire department to get them out. What are they hoping to find? I asked him. People like the thrill of the unknown, Lindsay. They want to chase after a dream, even when that dream can be a nightmare to others, he'd say. The description fit my little brother Will to a T. Anytime he didn't have his nose stuck in a book, he was roaming the halls of the hotel pretending to fight off monsters. For him, things like the elevator game weren't just fun, though. It was serious business. Especially after his encounter with the tourist. I call the man we met by that name simply because I never found out what the proper pronunciation of his real name was. All I remember distinctly about him is that he was tall, of Oriental descent, and he appeared to be around the same age as my father. The tourist arrived during a particularly slow season for us. For the majority of the time, Dad was trying to catch up in invoices and refurbished rooms, so he would let Will and I run the front counter. He brought with him only one item, a briefcase with the initials WR, which my brother found interesting because they matched his own. Are you a spy? Is that a bomb? Are you here to kill us? Will asked, bombarding the man with questions. What brings you this way? I asked, not wanting the man to grow irritated and take his business elsewhere. We needed the money, after all. Thank you kindly. I'm of request for only one room, singular, for myself, to finish what I started many years ago, the tourist said, as he patted the briefcase softly. How many nights are you planning to stay? I asked, typing in the information he provided. As many as it takes to finish the game, was his response. That made my brother's ears perk up. Game? Are you here for a competition or something? Will asked. This made the tourist smile, and he patted the briefcase again. This. A set of hidden secret rules inside. For elevator game. Very important. The only way to win. Took a long time to find. And now, I can finish. He remarked. Wow. So you want to find a ghost? I could tell Will was eating up every word the man said, but I had already written him off as a bit of a loony. Good luck, I told him, passing him a room key to a suite on the 10th floor and watching him move to the elevator. He was also walking with a slight limp. Once he was gone, Will started to pester me with questions about the ritual. How was it played? Why did so many people try it? Was it real? It got to the point that I decided to get him out of my hair by attempting the game myself. If I show you that it doesn't work, will you stop bothering me? I asked him with a deep sigh. He nodded eagerly. I rolled my eyes, and after checking to make sure Dad didn't have anything else for us to do, shooed him over towards the elevator. Once inside, for a minute he just stared at the buttons and I sighed, Do you even know the rules? Yeah. I think we start on the 2nd floor, he muttered as he reached out to press it. I snatched his hand away and rolled my eyes. It's the 4th floor. Then we go down to the 2nd. The elevator's doors closed and we began to ride up. When they opened on the 4th floor, I waited a minute for them to close, then pressed the 2nd button. Then 6, then 2, then 10, then 5, then 1. Want to try? I asked him. He giggled excitedly and nervously, and did as instructed. It took a grand total of 15 minutes or so to complete the ritual. Every time the elevator would slowly creak its way up or down the shaft, I held my breath expecting some kind of maintenance failure to occur. Instead, the most exciting thing was that it went to the 10th floor on its own, and Will clutched my leg thinking that we would find a ghost. But the hallways were empty. See? I told you this game was a waste of time, I said, as I reached for the button to go back down. Wait! Please wait! Hold the elevator! All of us looked towards the closing doors to see the tourist running down the hall towards us. Instinctively, I pressed the hold button. But it didn't work. Instead, they closed, and we began to descend to the bottom floor. I think maybe we should go back up for him, Will asked. I remember the man's face more than anything. He seemed distressed, panicked, fearful. It was unnerving when I thought about it. I didn't like the idea of having to see him again, so I told him dismissively that he would just have to catch the next elevator. Can we play again? He asked nervously. It's late, bud. We have to do homework, I said as an excuse. In reality, I was hoping that he would either forget about it or be too scared to try again, but I underestimated my brother. Especially after what happened with the tourist. It was Dad that made the discovery a few days later. When it was a little past time for our guest to check out, he was attempting to run the credit card information the tourist had given us, only to find out it wasn't working. Damn cheapskates, I remember Dad muttering as he ordered us to go up to the tourist's room and demand an explanation. When we got there, the room to his door was already slightly ajar. I remember pushing it open and thinking that something smelled strange. Will and I took a step into the darkened room, flicking on the lights, and came face to face with a scene out of a horror movie. There was blood everywhere. Trails of it stained the carpet and the walls, where it seemed the man had been using his bare nails to scratch in a sequence of numbers over and over again. In the center of the room was the tourist himself. His left hand cut off, his eyes wide with the same expression of panic and fear we had seen when he was dashing for the elevator door. And on the floor next to him, right before he died, he scrawled out a most peculiar bloody message. One that still haunts me to this day. Find me. Change it. Will became visibly sick as he covered his mouth and went to the toilet to throw up, and I called downstairs to tell Dad what had happened. As I waited for Dad to arrive, curiosity got the best of me, and I stepped over the tourist to peer at the note that he left. It looked like it had been written by the hand that was cut off, hastily, and jagged letters covering the paper. There were lots of journals nearby and a small hand mirror, even a whistle like the kind that you use at a tournament. This is what the note said. To whomever finds these hidden rules, please read them carefully, as they're not the regular set of instructions associated with the ritual commonly known as the elevator game. You must enter the elevator on the first floor. This part remains the same. You must go to the 6th floor first, followed by the 2nd, the 4th, and the 3rd. Then, return to 6. You must step outside on the 6th floor with the mirror in your hand and keep the mirror facing the elevator at all times so that you can keep it within your line of vision. Walk in a straight line until you reach the end of the hallway. Walk backwards to the elevator using the mirror and go back inside. If the elevator door closes at any time during this part, you will have failed. Once inside the elevator, you'll need to let it take you to the 2nd floor. Once you have made it to the 2nd floor, you'll find yourself somewhere that you do not belong. If at any point the elevator stops on the 5th floor, remain on the elevator. There is sometimes a woman that will enter the elevator here, and she will attempt to speak with you. Do not speak back. Do not acknowledge her. Use the whistle if necessary. Follow these hidden rules, and you will reach the end of your journey. The handwriting was jagged and fast, as though the writer had been in a hurry, and at the bottom, a signature. One that made my heart stop. William. Why was my brother's name on this note? Will stepped out of the bathroom, his face a mixture of sickness and confusion, and I crumpled up the note and stuck it in my back pocket. "What is all that?" he asked, wiping his mouth and seeing the journals lying on the bed. "Take this down to our room," I ordered him, shoving it in his arms. "Hurry, before Dad comes," I insisted. Ever the obedient little brother, he followed my instructions without even missing a beat. Over the next few days, Dad called the police, and they swept the room for any clues as to what caused the death. Dad told me I could go down and get some food or something, but for the life of me, I felt frozen in place as the cops moved in and out of the room, carrying with them different little pieces of bloody bedding or carpet and evidence baggies. All the while, my mind kept flashing back to the tourist's deranged and panicked expression from a few days ago, when he had seen him rushing for the elevator. Was this my fault? Had I failed to save him? And perhaps, most importantly, did his death have anything to do with the strange ritual that he was obsessed with? With these distressing thoughts swirling around my head, I fell asleep from sheer exhaustion. The night after the tourist died, I pored through every single snippet of information I could find on the game, searching for any reference to the hidden rules. I found nothing. In fact, I found less than nothing. Most of the stories were clearly hoaxes, written by internet users who wanted to get a quick scare for a few upvotes. Others were very detailed, almost realistic. But they always included some variation on the original sequence from the first website. That got me thinking, though, about how in those particular accounts, when a person would get the sequence wrong or do something different, something bizarre would happen. What if, I wondered, they weren't actually doing anything wrong at all, but by changing up the original rules, they were actually unlocking some hidden code? I decided if I was going to learn anything at all about that secret, I would need to see what was inside the briefcase. Shuffling out of my inflatable bed on the right side of our room, I moved over to Will and shook him gently to wake up. "Sis, is everything okay?" he whispered. Dad was a light sleeper. Since we all had to share a room in the hotel, I gestured silently for him to follow me towards the door. "Get the journals and follow me downstairs," I said back. He nodded and climbed out of bed, his eyes wide with eager excitement. With the notes in his hand, we snuck down to the main lobby, and I grabbed us a couple of hot chocolates from the snack bar as we settled on the lounge. Will yawned, and we placed the items carefully on the table. Then he picked up the mirror and waved it about for a few seconds. "What do you suppose all this stuff is?" he asked. "That's what we're here to find out," I told him, as I took the rubber band off the bundle of journals and opened up the first in the set. Much to my dismay, I soon found that the notes were not taken in English, but rather Chinese. Amid those strange symbols were numbers and other doodles, scribbled almost aimlessly, as though whoever had written this down had slowly lost their mind. Will was looking at the next journal, which seemed like a log of some type. There were numbers listed, 1 through 10 in different variations. Most of them were scratched through. "What is all this?" my brother asked. The edge in his voice told me he was both excited and scared. I didn't want to admit that I was too. "Looks like they were attempting different sequences to the elevator buttons," I said, as I skimmed through the journal. There had to be at least 100 different ways to press the buttons, and if the scratches and scribbles in the journal were to be believed, the tourist had tried every single combination there was. "Hey, look, it just stops here," Will said, as we made it to the middle of the journal. It was a combination of 6, 2, 4, 3, 6, 8. And it occurred to me that it was almost the same sequence that the note I found in the briefcase had. "Do you think maybe this is the right way to press them?" my brother asked. My stomach clenched. I hadn't expected him to catch that so quickly. I still didn't know exactly what the numbers meant or what had happened if a person did press them, but he was already eager to find out. He bounded from the lobby over to the elevator and pressed the button, shouting for me to join him. "Will, we should do this in the morning," I warned him. "Are you kidding? I didn't wake up in the dead of night to look over a bunch of boring journals. Let's go on an adventure," he said excitedly. The doors slid open, and I desperately tried to think of another good excuse as to why we shouldn't do this. "If something goes wrong, we could be stuck here all night, and Dad would tan our hides," I told him angrily. "I think you're just chicken," he said, jabbing me in the ribs. I sighed and I got in the elevator, realizing I definitely didn't want him doing this alone. And then I pressed for the 6th floor. For those of you guys that like to listen to stories, which I assume is all of you since, you're here, check out the Chilling app. I keep saying the Chilling app, and you can start your free trial, blah, 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 over the past couple of years, I think? 2 years? Well, here's some amazing news for all of you. Chilling is currently introducing Chilling 2.0, which brings in a bunch of new features and a fresh new look. Most importantly, Chilling is now free. That's correct, free. Not as in start free trial. I'm saying it's free. You can go to it now and it's free. So once again, like I said, start listening free today. There's links in the description down below if you guys can check that out. And if not, then hey, you're the one who's missing out. Once again, that's the Chilling app. A big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Jakob Fenske, Stephanie Butler, Jordan Humble, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, BrimstonePandemonium, Caltuna, William Wellington, Emma, Brenna Crow, LaQueda Canizales, Smiley the Psychotic, Dante, Kinkade, SimbasBloodyMojo, Mephistopheles, CursepoxPrimarch, Bastion Beefcake, M, Jesus Cornejo, Yarghoul, Clownible, Amber Clark, Jay Kierns, Dakota Lane Whetstone, Himbo Jerry, Crusader Chocobo, Adamarius, Estebean, Nate Cull, Our Minsect Time, Xylobones, Angelus, Seclude, Salty Surprise, Levita Galvin, That Creepy Chick, Red Shadow Cat, Turtleman, Carolinian, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Ika Limchalk, Dirty Diver 030, Matt Bach, Voice of Sand, Picamel, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, William King, Darth Miver, Sashi Suzaku, Coconut 509, Stricket, Freddy Krueger, Lisa Cottrell, Hades Nephew, Acid System, Mog, Kiwi the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Nico Kyle, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. To all of you guys, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for being a huge support to me. Thank you to everybody who's in the description down below, and thank you to everyone who can even support $1 just on Patreon to help keep the content coming.